Okay, so hello everyone. This is a talk on the paper Quantum-Inspired Classical Algorithms for Singular Value Transformation. We first begin with a little background and trace the problem statement. So we start with the celebrated HHL algorithm, which is a quantum algorithm for solving a system of linear equations in the QRAM model. Now, this QRAM model is quantum random access memory in which the input matrix is stored, and then we can sample from it and perform whatever operation we want. So this algorithm has a runtime which is sublinear in the dimension of the matrix. It's actually polylogarithmic. And the best known the best known classical algorithms of the time were linear in the dimension of the matrix. So there was an exponential separation between a quantum algorithm for this problem and a classical algorithm. The quantum algorithm assumed that the input matrix is well conditioned and it's either sufficiently sparse or of low rank. So these were the few conditions on the input matrix. Now, a variety of quantum algorithms employed HHL algorithm as a subroutine for faster runtime, essentially doing the same in solving the problem in sublinear time. And these quantum algorithms are specially used in machine learning tasks. Some of them are PCA support vector machines. So the main element was performing whatever operation is required in sublinear time. Now, Ivan Tang recently showed how to dequantize a quantum algorithm for recommendation system, which is essentially, again, one of the celebrated applications of HHL algorithm. So in that paper, she introduced techniques for performing the same via a classical algorithm in time sublinear in the dimension of the input matrix. Now, when this paper came out, it eliminated one of the best examples of exponential separations between runtimes of quantum and classical algorithm for machine learning. So the main open question in quantum information is exploring problems for which there is a quantum speed up. That is, quantum algorithms solve the problem in time which is exponentially better than the classical algorithm. And the HHL algorithm and the other algorithms which are based on it were thought to have this separation. But this breakthrough by Ivan Tang, it eliminated this example for a quantum speed up. Now, after this paper came out, there were other quantum-inspired classical algorithms for techniques, for using similar techniques and tools for PCA, support vector machines, and solving a system of linear equations. These machine learning algorithms essentially utilize computing pseudo-inverse of a matrix. So, yeah, they performed this task in sublinear time, and all of them have this common condition on the input matrix that it is of low rank. Now, these algorithms also assumed that the classical, the input matrix is stored in a classical data structure, which allows L-square norm sampling, which we'll define later. And finally, the output, this was the condition on the input, and the condition on the output is, since we cannot compute the entire output vector because it's of dimension similar to the input matrix that is linear, and we need to perform this task in sublinear time. So there is a condition on the output that we just that the classical algorithm enables query and sampling access to the output and doesn't compute the full output. So now these quantum inspired algorithms, they dequantize these quantum algorithms for similar problems only for low rank input matrix. So HHL algorithm as stated earlier, also works for a sparse input matrix. And presently, there is no classical algorithm that dequantizes HHL algorithm for that case. So that problem is still open. Now, in this paper, what we do is we generalize this technique, which was specific for, say, PCA, SPM, or a recommendation system, to any problem which is in its core computing a function on the singular values of the matrix. So these problems are basically, they can be just reduced to computing a specific function on the singular values of the matrix. So in a little mathematical terms, we define singular value transformation as a singular value transformation corresponding to a function f as this function phi f, which maps the input matrix M to the output to the matrix phi fm, where this M has singular value decomposition as U sigma V star, to this matrix phi fm, which has the singular value decomposition as U sigma F V star. The only difference here is the sigma F is a diagonal matrix in which the entries are replaced from sigma to f of sigma. So the entries in this diagonal matrix sigma, they are replaced to f of sigma. So now we need to compute this matrix phi fm, or a description of it efficiently. And if we are given an input vector b, then we need to compute the vector phi fm b efficiently. That is the main problem that we are going to describe in this paper. So roughly the problem statement traces out to be: given a matrix M and a vector B, and also a function f which is smooth and has certain conditions, then we can design a classical algorithm for computing the vector phi fm b in sublinear time. Now, as an example, we can take f of x as 1 over x, and for this, if we take such a function, then singular value transformation essentially reduces to computing the pseudo inverse of the matrix. Okay, and for recommendation system, this function is essentially the threshold function, which is f of x equal to x above a certain threshold, and below that f of x equal to 0. So yeah, so the singular value transformation generalizes this procedure. Now the main results in the paper are these theorems 1 and 2. So as stated before, we provide query and sampling access to the output vector in time, which is polylogarithmic in the dimension of the input matrix, and polynomial also in other parameters like kappa, Frobenius norm of A, and 1 over epsilon. This kappa is the condition number of the matrix. Frobenius norm is just squaring all the entries of the matrix and adding them together. And this epsilon is the error in theorems 1 and 2, which is different in both. So in first, this error epsilon is the additive error between ith component of the output vector and the vector which we are computing via the algorithm. And in theorem 2, when we provide sampling access, we actually provide sampling access to a distribution which is epsilon close to the distribution associated with this vector phi f a star b. So this is the main core theorems and results from our paper, and this essentially extends the applicability of quantum inspired algorithms, particularly the results from papers like quantum inspired PCA, SVM, etc. Efficient quantum algorithms for this similar procedure have been already developed. And efficient here means runtime which is polylogarithmic in the dimension of the matrix, same as the classical algorithm. So our algorithm, the classical algorithm, it basically helps us to establish the fact that we can do the same as a quantum algorithm for low rank input matrix in time which is polylogarithmic in the dimension of the matrix. So now we come to the technical details of the paper. So we begin with two definitions. First is the singular value decomposition, which is, which is well known. So it states that any matrix M can have a factorization of the form U sigma V star, where U and V are unitary matrices representing left and right singular vectors. The columns of this matrix U are Ui, and the columns of matrix V are Vi. And this matrix sigma is a diagonal matrix which has the singular value sigma I as the diagonal entries, and they are in the decreasing order. So this is singular value decomposition of a matrix. We can compute SPD of any matrix, any complex matrix. Now, singular value transformation. So SVT is given a function f, we can associate singular value transformation to f as the function phi f, which maps this matrix M to phi f M. And mathematically, this is mathematically phi f M is represented as this. So this is similar to the definition presented before. It's just expresses it in more mathematical terms. Now, the tools that we require, we'll talk about the tools that are essential for the classical algorithm. So first is the fact that we require sampling access to vectors and matrices. So we'll define this first. So sample access to a matrix, to a complex matrix M, is defined as the conditions 1 and 2. So condition 1 states that we can sample rows of matrix M via this probability distribution Rm, and the probabilities with which we sample are proportional to the row norm of the ith row of matrix M. And the second point states that from a particular row I, we can sample according to the norm of that particular entry I comma j, the probability proportional to the magnitude of the entry ij. So if these two conditions hold, then we say that we have sampling access to matrix M. First is sampling rows with probability proportional to row norm, and second is sampling particular entry from that row according to the norm proportional to the magnitude of the entry. We can similarly define sample access to a vector, which is essentially taking n equal to 1 in the above definition of the sampling access to a matrix. And this technique has been used in previous works on quantum inspired algorithms. So it's essentially the same. Now, next, we define L-square norm sampling. So L-square norm sampling is basically repeating this first point Q number of times, where Q is constant in terms of these dimension. It's O1 in terms of the dimension. It's a constant. So if we sample Q rows of matrix M according to the probability distribution Rm, and we define a new matrix N with Q number of rows as this after normalization, then we can ensure two things. First is the Frobenius norm is equal of these two matrices. So that is easy to observe. And the second is Frobenius norm of M conjugate transpose M, M conjugate M and N conjugate N, they are approximately equal with high probability. So we need these two conditions for proving bounds on final proofs, bounds on output vector and the error and everything. And this procedure of L-square norm sampling, it essentially ensures these two things. So if we have sampling access to vector, the input vector and matrix, then we can perform L-square norm sampling on them. Now to perform, to have sampling access, we use a preposition which states that there exists a tree-like data structure which stores this matrix M such that we can perform the sampling and query in sublinear time, and so all these operations of L-square norm sampling and sampling rows and entries out of a matrix, they can be done in time polylogarithmic in the dimension of the matrix. So all these operations like outputting Frobenius norm, it's O1, and the others, they can be performed if the input matrix is stored in the data structure, which is a tree-like data structure, which we use from Ivan Tang's paper. The paper introduces this particular tree-like data structure. As an example, for a vector, we have this vector V, which is a complex vector, and the dimension is 5 cross 1. So this is that tree data structure we are talking about. And all these operations can be performed in polylogarithmic time, which in turn ensures sampling access to this vector. So now if we have this vector V, if we have a vector stored in such a data structure and a matrix again stored in similar kind of a data structure, then we can perform the procedure that follows, and in turn singular value transformation. So the procedure is next that we talk about. So first we sample R rows from matrix A, which is essentially performing L-square norm sampling on matrix A, and we get this output matrix S, again a description of it. And from this matrix S, we sample C columns and get this matrix W. So first is sampling rows, R number of rows. R is again constant in terms of the input dimension, and then sampling C columns, where C is again constant in terms of the input dimension. So we get a constant dimension matrix W. And since this is according to L-square norm sampling, which was stated before, we ensure the fact that A star A, L-square norm sampling ensures the fact that it's this A star A is approximately equal to S star S, and S star and SS star, because in the second step we are sampling columns, is similar to WW star. And these conditions are necessary for proving our theorems. So since W is a small matrix, now computing SVD of W is, it can be done in constant time because the dimension is just R and C. R cross C. So using the SVD of W, we compute these matrices, phi inverse W, phi inverse W star. These phi's are singular value transformation where the function f is the inverse function. So we compute all these matrices. This can be done in time linear in R and C. Okay. So once we have all these matrices, we compute this matrix P dash. Okay, we can simply multiply them together because the dimensions are all constant. And our claim is the following, that the description of this matrix S star P dash S A star is approximately same as the matrix that we were supposed to compute, phi F A star, with high probability and small error. So after we have this claim, we directly have theorems 1 and 2, which provide query and sampling access to the output vector. So given sampling access to a vector B, we can have query access to ith component of the vector phi f A star B, and theorem 2 states that given the sampling access to vector B, we have sampling access to the output vector this with high probability. So ensuring claim 1 and proving the quality of approximation is the main contribution of this paper. Now, the basic strategy is to exploit the relations A star, as stated before, the relations A star A is approximately equal to S star S, and the other one, because of this L-square norm sampling that we use. So, so this is the main ingredient, the main premise for most of the lemmas that we prove in the paper. And the basic structure of the proof is described next. So we take this helper function h, which is defined as f root x over root x for x greater than 0, and h of 0 is 0. And we observe this fact that phi f a star is same as this matrix, the product. And the proof utilizes three essential lemmas. One is, since we have this fact, a star a is approximately equal to s star s, it implies that these two matrices are also approximately same with high probability. We use results from a paper published in 2010 on perturbation of matrices to prove this fact. The second is observing that phi h s star s is equal to this matrix where p is defined differently. And then this matrix p dash that we compute is approximately similar to this new matrix p, which is used in this point 2. So if we have these three conditions, which we establish in different lemmas in the paper, then we can put them all together to finally summarize that s star p dash s a star is approximately equal to this matrix, where this is because p dash is approximately equal to p from point 3. Then the product of first three matrices from point 2 is this helper function of these of the product this, which is approximately equal to this from point 1. And finally, because of this fact, we have phi f a star here. So this matrix is approximately equal to this matrix with high probability, which was essentially the claim. And once we have the claim, we can have theorems 1 and 2. So this summarizes the proofs in the paper. Finally, the analysis. So theorems 1 and 2, they show that we can efficiently compute classically singular value transformation for any smooth function. Smooth function is a function where the derivative has an upper bound and the function has lower and upper bound. And all these bounds can be expressed polynomially in terms of kappa Frobenius norm. So kappa is again the condition number. Frobenius norm is just summing after squaring all the entries of the matrix A. And the runtimes for theorems 1 and 2 are polynomial in all these parameters. So this extends the results from other quantum inspired papers on PCA, recommendation system, etc. And as stated before, quantum algorithms for singular value transformation have been developed, and the runtime for the same is polynomial in terms of kappa, Frobenius norm of A, and logarithmic in Mn, and also logarithmic in 1 over epsilon. So for small epsilon, we can say that our algorithm matches the best known quantum algorithm, but it's still an open problem for large epsilon. So whether we can optimize this polynomial dependence on 1 over epsilon for our classical algorithm to match the quantum algorithm, which is logarithmic in 1 over epsilon. And but anyways, for small enough epsilon, we can say that our classical algorithm matches the quantum algorithm. So that's it. Thank you.